Welcome to Soccer Morning on World Soccer Talk. Here's your host, Jason Davis.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome into Soccer Morning. We are live. We are on the air. I am still holed up in my Blizzard bunker 2016. Hashtag. If you're in the DC area, I hope that you're safe and sound and dug out. This is the last show from the bunker. I'll be home. I'll be back in my usual studio tomorrow, and we'll have resuming regular service, although this will be a fine show today. Take your phone calls on a host of topics around the soccer world. Just looking at the news rundown, obviously a full weekend in Europe. We're getting MLS training camps underway. We've got some scuttle from that arena, and one potential high-profile absentee will not be absent, as a matter of fact. So that's interesting news out of the MLS circles. We've got the U.S. Women's National Team in action this weekend. We've got the ongoing build-up to the U.S. Men's National Team January friendlies. The fallout from Jordan Morris's decision. I guess it's fallout. Is it fair to call what the Jordan Morris situation a fallout at this point? I mean, it's a good thing for MLS. It's a good thing for the Seattle Sounders. We sort of debated the approach the Sounders have taken to proclaiming Jordan Morris the next great American star, or MLS doing so, certainly riding the coattails of a player who's done nothing on the professional stage. And it's not his fault that he's being used as a PR tool here. But maybe we can go into a little bit of that approach from the league and from the team up in Seattle, and debate whether or not it's the right thing to do for Jordan Morris in his career. So your phone call's coming up in just a little while. Let's start with the Premier League weekend. Chelsea beating Arsenal 1-0 at the Emirates. A goal by Diego Costa. Per Mertesacker sent off Diego Costa, baiting Per Mertesacker. Maybe certainly there's. This is a guy, Diego Costa is a guy who knows how to take advantage of a situation. Has done so many times before. Arsene Wenger very circumspect in the aftermath, saying, hey, look, it's what it is. It's what Costa does. And Arsenal deflated a little bit by that loss to Chelsea at home. Leicester goes top because of that Arsenal loss and their own win, 3-0 over Stoke City. Jamie Vardy scoring again for the Foxes as they jump back to the top of the table in the English Premier League. It continues to be a fascinating battle for the top spot. Does anybody really want to take it? Maybe that's not how we should look at it. Maybe we should look at it, this is a difficult league with no clear great team in 2016 is making for some high drama. I very much enjoy it. Fans boo as Manchester United, loses a 1-0 decision to Southampton at Old Trafford. Louis van Gaal lamenting after the game that he is unable to meet the fans' expectations. Everyone's disappointed there at Old Trafford. I'm very disappointed I cannot reach the expectations of the fans. They had great expectations of me. I cannot fill them, so I'm very frustrated. It was United's first loss since Boxing Day, but they're obviously having trouble there, working out the performances, working out the best team, scoring goals, doing all of those things that are required in order to win games and challenge for a Champions League spot, where certainly Manchester United wants to be. Let's see. Last but not least here, when there's a host of results from the Premier League weekend, we can get into some of that later on with the phone calls. But the game of the weekend was that 5-4 thriller that Liverpool won over Norwich at Carrow Road. Louis van Gaal going absolutely bonkers in the aftermath of that game, losing his glasses. It's quite the scene. Liverpool clearly not a great team, maybe not even a very good team at this point. Jurgen Klopp working the squad that he inherited from Brendan Rodgers, and we'll see whether or not they can push on here in 2016. But really what we're doing is setting the stage for Jurgen Klopp's 2016-2017 team. But if you have that passion and that moment from Jurgen Klopp, it's obvious why fans around the world love the guy. All right, back in MLS, and this is what I was alluding to. Didier Drogba will return to the Montreal Impact for the 2016 season. We have some sort of resolution here. It did look for a time like Drogba was going to join Chelsea. I've read some speculative legal analysis of this, that there may have been an issue. FIFA may have gotten interested in this situation because Drogba did have a contract, obviously, with the Impact. There is no need to go over that anymore at this point. Drogba tweeted on Sunday that he was headed to Qatar to do some preparation work for preseason, and he tagged the Montreal Impact. Now, Montreal is not in Qatar, but he will join them in Florida coming up on the 15th of February for the second part of their training camp. So, L'Equipe had it being a foregone conclusion that Drogba would join Chelsea. He obviously heard the call of Chelsea. He showed up there. It's been some drama, but Impact fans can rest easy knowing that Didier Drogba will be back in Impact Blue for 2016 and the MLS season. It does not have to, that means that Mauro Biello and company don't have to change course here in the middle of preseason before the campaign gets only underway in short order. Juventus beat Roma 1-0 for their 11th straight Serie A victory. Juve now 2 points behind Napoli in the Serie A table. Napoli won away at Sampdoria 2-4. In La Liga, Real Madrid drops points 1-1 away to Real Betis. Zidane insists that Madrid can win the Spanish title despite being 4 points back right now and Barcelona having a game in hand, so it could stretch to 7 should Barcelona win that game in hand. Barcelona themselves need a little bit of Messi magic to overcome Malaga 1-0. Atleti fell flat against Sevilla, could not score. Again, we talked to our friend David Cartledge last week on this show, and he identified the problem with Atletico Madrid is that they need goals. It can't be Griezmann only. They need some other offensive firepower to kick in here if they're going to have a chance to win this title, scoring as little as they do. The U.S. women's national team, as I mentioned, beginning 2016 with a 5-0 romp over Ireland in San Diego on Saturday. Carly Lloyd, fresh off her win as Player of the Year, scored a first-half hat trick before exiting the stage, at which point Mallory Pugh, the 17-year-old phenom that caused a stir when she apparently changed her mind about turning pro 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago at the NWSL draft, scored in her first game, her first cap for the U.S. women's national team. A very nice headed goal, crashing the near post and getting on the end of something there. So Mallory Pugh scoring, 17 years old, scoring for the best team in the world. Pretty fantastic stuff. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, looks like the phone line's going to be open all day, every day for you here on Soccer Morning. Serious? Nope, that's not right. WorldSoccerTalk.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Soccer Morning on World Soccer Talk. with Jason Davis.
All right, we're back on Soccer Morning on a Monday. A very snowy Monday where I am. I'm sure it's not quite as snowy where you are, unless you're in the D.C. metropolitan area. I think the total snowfall in the area I am right now was 24 and 23 inches, something like that. And back in my house, or the studio, the usual Soccer Morning studio, we got 34 inches of snow. Now, at some point, there's just too much snow. I mean, I don't mean that like, oh my God, there's too much snow, we can't live our lives, the world is ending. I just mean at some point, there's diminishing returns on the amount of snow that you're getting. Like if you're a kid, I imagine, if you grew up somewhere where there was snow, where winter was the thing, if you were in the Northeast or the Midwest, you probably, desperately waited for those snow days. You wanted those snowstorms to hit, and you wanted there to be, like, it depends on where you're from, obviously, because different towns are prepared for snow at a different level. I mean, DC is a place that waffles between being prepared for snow and have no preparation for snow, or being able to handle it. Because, Chicago, a place that gets more snow, more likely able to handle a lot of snow in a way that, DC certainly can't. But if you live in Chicago, you know there needs to be a good amount of snow on the ground before they're going to cancel school. If you live in Minnesota, there needs to be a good amount of snow on the ground before they cancel school. If you live in Nashville or Memphis or Atlanta, it needs to be very little snow in order for school to be canceled. So it's obviously a sliding scale depending on where you live. I think at this point, I mean, I'm sure there's some kids out having a good time in this particular kind of snow, but like at this point, it's just too much. Like, you can't even walk anywhere. You can't. And this is the thing I noticed, watching. So I'm on the 12th floor where I am. So I have a nice view of a pretty major road. So it's snowing like crazy. The plows are out, and we get kind of blizzard conditions through Saturday. It finally stops on Saturday night. But you get this thing where, because the roads are deserted, and because there's so much snow that they've had to push it to the side of the road and mostly cover up any sidewalks that are available, or that people walk down the middle of the road. First of all, why are you walking in the snowstorm anyway? I don't really get that. Then why you're walking down the middle? It's not a zombie apocalypse show. You're not living Walking Dead. You don't get to just walk down the middle of the road because it seems like the world's deserted. Like, I feel like that's what people are doing. They're living out their fantasy of living in a post-apocalyptic world. It's the closest we get when there's 30 inches of snow on the ground. 646-832-3909. Speaking of that snow, wouldn't it be lovely if there were soccer games right now in this part of the country or in the world? Well, who obviously wouldn't be playing 30 inches of snow on the ground. But, you'd have to overcome this somehow. Would this be the period for the break? Like, look, we talk about changing the MLS schedule in the United States and Canada to line up better with the world, to get the playoffs in a better part of the year, and I see all the positives there. I really do. But are we talking about like taking the winter break in January? Like, I feel like January would be the time to take the break. So the Bundesliga stops at roughly mid-December and comes back, roughly mid-January. Right? They just came back. The Bundesliga just came back this past weekend, I think. So roughly a month from, through the holiday period into the third week of January. MLS maybe same thing, or push it a little bit deeper. Like, I want to know where this break needs to be, and how long should that break be? Should it be a month, or should we go longer than that? For those proponents of the schedule switch. 646-832-3909, because you can't obviously, you can't account for these kinds of storms. I mean, you can't assume that they're going to happen, and that's why you don't schedule you don't switch the schedule. If you really want to switch the schedule, then you have to figure out a way around some of the winter weather, regardless, is what I'm saying. If this is making any sense whatsoever. And maybe, look, DC is hit, New York is hit. How much did New York get? How much snow did you get, Trevor? Because I know there was significant amount. I saw people, snowboarding behind cars, in the middle of Manhattan. Okay, we're cool. We're putting this on our YouTube channel. I can snowboard through Manhattan. I'm sure that's legal. Let's see. 30 inches of snow, Trevor says. Yeah, so they got hit. I didn't think New York was supposed to get hit like that, but they surely did. Mike on Twitter, we have a winter break. It's called the MLS offseason. Okay, so Mike's obviously not on board for a schedule switch. Now, my friend Baudur says I'm figuring maybe 2 months. The winter break would be longer than the summer offseason. Weird, but I think it works. Yeah, you have. That's what I'm saying. Like, so for all the good a schedule switch does, and again, I get it. I get the reasons behind it. I still think that you have a cultural problem in getting people to accept the notion they're supposed to go out and watch soccer in November, or I guess December, and man, see, that's the thing. I guess it really wouldn't change anything. So maybe my argument is in terms of culture change isn't necessary. Maybe I can't even make it. Maybe it doesn't stand up. Because if you're breaking through December and January, or are we talking about like a mid-December to mid-February break? Maybe that's what we're talking about. That might work. Let's go to Nelly down in Texas. Hey, Nelly.
Hey, Jason. Well, I wanted to talk about FC Dallas and the great we're doing this offseason. I wanted MLS teams to take a note and see that a veteran DP star is not needed. The job that Fernando Clavijo and Oscar Pereira are doing are great. They took a 20-year-old Ecuadorian national player who was the second youngest starter in the World Cup. They convinced him to come to MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's amazing. We needed a holding midfielder, and the work that Clavijo and Pereira has done has just been phenomenal. They've taken these young guys, developed them. It's just amazing to me.
All right. Well, I mean, full credit to FC Dallas. And you're talking about Carlos Gruezo, right? The kid from Stuttgart, 20-year-old midfielder. And as you said, he was the fourth youngest player at the World Cup. He was the second youngest to start a match. He's made 10 appearances for Ecuador since 2014. And yeah, I mean, the fact that you get a kid with that much potential to join up with MLS at this point, out of a very, obviously Stuttgart's in the Bundesliga. It's a very good league. He probably had a bright future there. But maybe it's a matter of the playing time, the competition, and hey, I don't know. But this is obviously a big move for Dallas.
Yeah, Pereira, he was the assistant coach here under Chelas, and I think Pereira being here is a big reason why Castillo hasn't left. Pereira, they call him Poppy.
Yeah,
and he's been a father figure to all these guys, to Techo, to Zimmerman, even Mauro Diaz. Mauro Diaz has kind of had his little rebel time, but he's kind of calmed down. Castillo, when he came into the league, he was a young, shy, 18-year-old. Pereira took him to his house, and he stayed in his house. And Pereira has just done a heck of a job. When he left to Colorado, I was a bit sad.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I heard that he wanted to come back to Dallas, I'm like, this is great. We're going to go far with him. And just the job that Clavijo has done as the director has been amazing. And there's still rumors of Carlos Vela still coming in. I don't see it. But Clavijo is still out there looking for a forward, because we need a forward. And we have had older veterans come in. You had a Blas Perez. Now we have Mina Figueroa.
Mm-hmm.
But they have mixed so well with the young stars. And just the role that our academy is doing with the homegrown players has been amazing. I mean, people call it MLS Retirement League, and I'm one of the first guys to say no. My team, FC Dallas, is not a retirement team that takes the veterans, and the proof is there. We've had rumors of Michael Edson coming in when Ivory Coast was training in Dallas. before the World Cup, the Hunts were trying to convince Didier Drogba to come in. I'm kind of glad that didn't happen.
Well, I mean, look, they've built a culture at FC Dallas, and it's happened pretty quickly. I mean, those Schellas Hyman teams, Nelly, were pretty blah team. I mean, you had Breck Shea on them. Can't be completely blah, but they were pretty blah teams. They didn't really get you going, right? I mean, it's not like Schellas played the most expansive brand of soccer. And you didn't have, I don't know, there was just something about the team that made the MLS Cup final in 2010. Who was, I mean, maybe you can name some of the players from that team. But I don't think of that team as anything. I mean, that whole MLS Cup was pretty disappointing. Well, you
had David Farrell, the MVP, he was
David Ferreira absolutely measures up. Yeah. So David Ferreira, and that was pre-injury, right? So yeah, I take your point there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and the Hyman team was good. There were some defense missing there, but if we don't win the MLS Cup this year, I mean, I think we should. We've gone pretty far.
All right,
we have a pretty bright future with Pareja and Clavijo.
Yeah, maybe it's by the way, congratulations to Clavijo on his cancer going into remission. That's big news for him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The 2010 team. Maybe I'm just not giving Schellas enough credit. I guess I should. That 2010 MLS Cup was just kind of it was, I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot of sexy there. But you had Heath Pierce, you had Jair Benitez, you had Jeff Cunningham, David Ferreira, as you mentioned, Eric Avila, Dax McCarty, George John, Zach Lloyd, Breck Shea were on that team. As I mentioned, Breck Shea. I mean, Marvin Chavez was on that team. So there were some good players, but certainly not the culture wasn't where FC Dallas is now. And Nelly, what's fascinating to me, I got to let you go, but what's fascinating to me is that in MLS, where for 20 years teams failed to build cultures for whatever reason, because the nature of the league, the salary budgets, whatever, failed to create an identity for themselves. FC Dallas has done that, and who knows how long we're the team that makes homegrown talent matter. We're the team that mixes, as you said, these veterans with these kids. We're the team that can play some fun, fast soccer with guys like Mauro Diaz in the middle and Fabian Castillo on the outside. We'll see how long it lasts, but for the time being, if you're an FC Dallas fan, you got to be pretty happy right now.
Yeah. Great times in Frisco.
There it
Thanks,
is.
Jason.
Appreciate it. Now, I just wish they played in Dallas. I mean, is that wrong of me to wish that they played in Dallas? I don't think so. Jason in Nebraska, you're on there. What's up?
Hi, Jason. Just wanted to ask, first off, did you see, I want to talk about Tottenham, did you see the Dele Alli goal over this weekend?
I did. Pretty special goal right there.
Oh, definitely. And then just expand upon the point, I wanted to ask where you see the Spurs finishing out this year, especially with Vertonghen going down injured. I don't think they've announced yet how long he's going to be out, but with kind of the defense being the strongest key of the team, I wondered if you see them solidifying that fourth slot.
It's been such a frustrating last decade, more than that. I mean, obviously frustrating existence for Spurs fans, but going back to the year that they made fourth, but were they weren't given a Champions League spot because Chelsea had won the tournament the previous year. This seems like the year to do it, and I think I've said that. I think I've said that Tottenham, if Tottenham's going to grab that Champions League spot again, to get themselves back into that upper echelon and make the jump, it has to be this year because the competition. Nobody seems to want to grab the title, and the competition is, weaker from teams like Manchester United and Chelsea and Liverpool. So there's a gap. There's a giant gap there. I don't know if I'm a Spurs fan, if I should hope that Leicester fades and that debts are in, or if I really just think that Tottenham's got enough now, because I don't know if I don't know. Tottenham just can't. They can't figure out how to be consistent enough. They got the injuries to Vertonghen, and you can't count on 2 or 3 guys to score all your goals the way that they've been doing. It seems unsustainable.
Definitely. And if they don't make it this year, you can really see them regretting it, because it's hard to imagine Chelsea's going to have another down year.
Yeah.
You figure United's eventually going to figure that out. So they want to this would be the year, as you said.
Symbolically, too. I mean, if they could, and look, Arsenal's still in it. I think Arsenal, I have trouble believing in Arsenal the same way I have trouble believing in Spurs, but this might be the year, and for that reason, this might be the year that Spurs gets over Arsenal. Even if, if you don't make a Champions League spot, it's a disappointment no matter where Arsenal finishes compared to Spurs. But if you can get that Champions League spot and beat out Arsenal on points in the league, I think that's massive for Spurs, just in terms of the momentum that they create going forward and being, the best North London team for a little while.
Definitely. And I think with just hearing all the talk about people even tipping us for the title, that's kind of nervous in itself, because we're still, like I said, not confident enough to feel like we're got fourth place secured. You still have 15. You still have 15 matches left. You still have a lot of season left, and who knows? Again, it's hard to get yourself to believe in Spurs because of their history. But if there was ever a league that's set up for them to finally make that jump, it's this league and this season. And there's a 5-point gap on United right now. At this point in the season, considering the way this league is shaken out, that's pretty big. So it's that top four. It's making sure you're consolidating that position, and how Pochettino plays it, especially as you mentioned defensively, remains to be seen. Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Jason. Stay safe, and appreciate it.
All right, there goes Jason in Nebraska. A little Spurs action. 646-832-3909 is your phone number. We're here for you on a Monday. Hopefully, again, if you're in the DC or Mid Atlantic or Northeast, anywhere. I guess everybody in the Northeast got snow. I don't know how much Boston got. I know. Okay, so DC and New York got slammed. Philly got slammed. Obviously, smack dab in the middle. Baltimore got slammed. Again, everybody up and down the East Coast for the most part. Okay, so it petered out before it got to New England, which is usually the opposite, right? Usually it kind of clips. It goes above DC. DC gets a couple of inches. It hits New York and Boston. That's usually what happens. And in this case, it decided to just go ahead and sit on top of DC for a really long time because it was pretty nuts. But I did not venture out into the world while it was snowing. I think we went outside for about 5 minutes, maybe a couple of minutes on Friday after we had gotten quite some of it, but not that much. Maybe it was Saturday. Yeah, it was nuts. All right, 646-832-3909. Premier League, definitely lots of things to talk about there. Again, that Liverpool game against Norwich, quite the craziness in that one. I'll admit that I did not wake up in time to catch the bulk of that game, and that's my fault, and I can't believe I did that. I don't know that I would circle Liverpool Norwich or Norwich Liverpool on my schedule. I don't know that I would when I'm sketching out my weekend and I'm looking. Look, if it's on TV, I should. It might be worth watching, regardless of what I expect for that game to deliver. But I certainly didn't expect 5-4. I didn't expect that kind of game. We also obviously had some action across the continent of Europe, including Juve winning their 11th straight in the league. And how do we feel about that? How do we feel about Juve dabbing all over the place? Somebody got an opinion on this? Now I got some Juve fans in my Twitter feed that are extremely excited that Paul Pogba and Dybala and Juve have adopted the dab, but I feel like we're rapidly coming to the end of the dab's lifespan. Maybe, in fact, it might be over already, and it just word hasn't gotten to Juve yet. Word hasn't gotten to Turin. Maybe we need to send a carrier pigeon and let them know that it's over. Let's go to Aaron in Jersey. Hey, Aaron, how are you? How much snow did you get, Aaron?
Hey, about 29 inches in North Jersey, so that was a pretty good smashing. But you guys in DC got not just snow, but 12 other things. So I think it's a little worse for you.
What's on your mind today, Aaron?
Well, a couple of interesting things. So there's a good article about Bradley in the Times this weekend.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Sorry?
I haven't had a chance to read it yet. It's definitely it's from James Montague, who we had on the show many times. Great guy. I imagine it's a good in-depth piece. So give me a sense of what's in there and certainly what you took away.
Well, obviously it's a real interesting kind of dichotomy between a real American coach but also who's adopted kind of a pure, true European kind of model or international coach model in terms of his development and moving his way up the club ladder and kind of grinding it out. And so I think it's favorable. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily American readers would think it's favorable, but I think anyone who follows football internationally will look at it as he's kind of doing the job. It's kind of like he's over there, kind of like Giuseppe Rossi without the same outcomes. Or maybe some of them, and he's kind of just, doing his thing, applying his trade. I mean, I thought it was good, and it'd be very interesting to see if he ever really comes back to the States. I mean, my sense in the article is, he wants to build the rest of his career out there and work his way up to big first division, football, managing, and I think he will. I mean, he clearly everybody likes him over there. I mean, they kind of think he's this unique thing, except for the fact that he's American, which is, kind of a strange reality. But yeah, so, I thought that was an interesting piece. And then like on your pivot on Juve, Italy is a trip right now because it's playing just incredibly competitive football. But, these clubs are so financially kind of strapped and, they're kind of becoming this super Dutch league feeding England and the super clubs in Europe. And, it's going to be interesting to see if the Italian, if the whole association can kind of reboot itself financially. Because I think they have to. I mean, they just can't compete TV dollars with England right now.
It's TV dollars, but it's also about infrastructure, right? I mean, this is why Juve has taken a step up and gotten back certainly to the top level in Italy, and therefore been able to make the leap and make a Champions League final. And because they built their own stadium, they're controlling all their revenue. It's not the crumbling edifice that, I mean, for all the lore of this San Siro, it's an albatross around the neck of the Milan clubs.
Having gone there, it's beautiful. Having gone, seeing all these great European historical monuments, it's another one, and it should be put into the football monuments of the world. But yeah, it's like going to the Chargers, San Diego. It's you're going to like a broken stadium. I mean, or locally MSG. It feels exactly like going to MSG. Okay. Like a great thing when people are in town, but in reality, you're like, this place sucks. And I would just say that I think that's the problem, is that the clubs can't afford the billions it takes to rebuild all these stadiums, and the country doesn't want to spend the money, and the TV dollars are falling, and it's a really weird environment when it's a competitive match. I mean, my daughter was studying over there, and she was going to go to Roma Lazio, and then one of her friends' dad, who's Italian, said, I don't even go to that match.
No, don't go to that
People
match.
like turn up the match. It's crazy. Like you get stabbed.
Yeah, right.
And and you just can't like get stabbed when the Giants play the Jets. I mean, it doesn't really work for business.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because I mean, clearly there's. Look, one of the great things about soccer is that it does conjure such passion. Except, obviously the examples set forth by some European countries aren't always examples we as Americans should be following. And we have this thing now where it's clear that the direction that MLS is moving in, or NASL or anybody else for that matter, is that the fans are getting more
another gear on. But, and I know that sounds bad, but it really wasn't that bad. It was kind of almost funny. I mean, but I never felt like, we're going to get, we're going to go to war here.
Right.
And I'm telling you, going to average European matches, I mean, what it boils down to is their true tribal regionality has never really been solved. I mean, they jam these super states together over the last 100, 200 years and stop killing each other generally. And, but it's not like those regional passions are really done. Whereas in the States, we kind of done that. And what's interesting about MLS is it's almost like it wants the business benefit of that. And it doesn't necessarily realize that it might not be the healthiest thing if your goal is to build a more, balanced brand or over time, corporate brand. Corporations don't want to bring their customers and their top salespeople to a place and, someone's going to throw a sausage at them.
Right.
I mean, it's not really the experience you want. And to speak of that, actually, the last thing is, Drogba re-signing with Montreal. I actually think, he's going to do very well next year. I mean, you give him a whole off season and commitment, and I think Montreal is going to be a really good team next year, and it's going to speak interestingly to the defensiveness of MLS. Can they actually put bodies on him? It's almost kind of like, not Kobe is the wrong analogy, but like Kobe 4 years ago, when 5 years ago when Kobe still had functional skills. Do you actually double team him, and what does that do, and how does that open up Montreal's games? Yeah. And I'd be interested to see your take on that.
Well, I mean, so much of what the Impact are going to do this year hinges on Drogba, and I don't know how many games they're going to get out of him. I'm going to bet he's going to skip the trip to probably Portland and Seattle. I mean, because you're going to put him on that trip. I mean, maybe he even skips the Vancouver trip. Imagine they play Vancouver at least once in 2016. So you're going to have to pick your spots with him. He is 37 years old, right? I mean, it's not like he's going to be out there every single day. Now he got fit and he played 11 times and he was amazing for them. I think well is relative. I mean, if he scores 15, that's a pretty good goal total, but it's not really even about the number of goals he scores. As you said, it's sort of the gravity he has within their setup and how MLS teams decide to defend him, and whether or not Montreal can then capitalize on the space that's going to open up because, hey, there's two center backs closing down on Didier Drogba. Look at that gap that's up the right channel, that kind of thing.
It almost reminds me of kind of Jerry Rice at the end of his career, when people like at first were saying, "Oh, well, whatever, he's like 40," and then he had like 85 catches and was like tearing people up, but not like you said in every game. It was kind of those spots, but those spots kind of like screwed teams up even more because they didn't know like how much of him they were going to get that week, but they still had a game plan for him and flip everything upside down, and then he'd come in and then he wouldn't come in, and it's almost like I think Drogba could have this interesting role where maybe at home he starts almost everything because it's like at home he takes like a chauffeured car and he gets his masseuse and gets ready for the game and shots or whatever he needs. And then on the road, it's like, every other game he goes and, he plays maybe, the last third of the game or, kind of the shock role. And I just think it was obvious last year that people just didn't have any solutions for him. The moment he was out in space and, it wasn't just like speed, it was really physicality and that kind of like one or two quick steps he had with the ball and how he just kind of owned space. And you just saw the whole defense collapse and around him. And, he's still a big guy. He still probably can jump 30, 35 inches. And, you put the ball up the guy that big and, how many reps are going to really call him pushing off too much? Right?
He's got that full bag of tricks. I mean, I hate to be cliche about an experienced player. I mean, I think Drogba has been using that understanding of what he can get away with and when he can get away with it for his entire career. So I don't know necessarily putting this on experience. I'm putting this on the quality of Didier Drogba as a player, as a striker, as a target forward.
And what's going to be interesting about him is that if he really is evolving into kind of this coach-player role, is you give him a full off season. It's how he's able to work with the younger, less experienced players in Montreal, both offensively and defensively.
Mm-hmm.
It's that if, I remember reading this article years ago about go back to American. Find that fascinating, and I actually think it'd be great to have a Canadian team. Obviously Montreal did well in the CONCACAF and stuff, but a Canadian team really push American teams.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Again, he's going to get a full season. I appreciate the call, Aaron. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
There goes Aaron in Jersey. Always good to talk to him. Wide range of topics there. Fantastic. 646-832-3909. Apparently, we're having a little bit of an issue with our connection today. Maybe that's the snow. I don't know. It seems to be freezing up, and Trevor's had to reconnect a couple of times. So if you're watching the live stream, I apologize for that. Apologize. We will have the full experience on the podcast, obviously, at worldsoccertalk.com, backheel.com, etc., etc. 646-832-3909. Let me see what else I've got here on a Monday. Again, we covered the Premier League a little bit. We talked Drogba. We talked Juve. I haven't really talked about La Liga yet. Didn't get a chance to see any of this this weekend. What is this story that I saw about James Rodriguez having to hit back over allegations about his weight or something? Like criticism about his weight. People are calling James Rodriguez fat. Is that a thing? What happens if I Google, just for the heck of it, I'm going to Google James Rodriguez fat and see what I get. Hold on one second. Let me just. This is quality live radio right here. This is me Googling something while I'm on the air, so that we can both learn about whether or not people are calling James Rodriguez fat. James Rodriguez at goal.com. Here we go. I can't believe this. What's going on with the snow and the system here. 646-832-3909. We'll see if we can make it through to 10 o'clock on a Monday. As I mentioned, MLS camp's getting underway. Lots to look forward to for a lot of teams in 2016. And I know that Jurgen Klinsmann laments the length of the MLS season, says it's not long enough, certainly for teams that don't make the playoffs. I know that we have a longer off season than European leagues, certainly than Mexico. Certainly the MLS and the off season are a question that people ask regularly. But I still feel like we just had MLS Cup. I realize it. I don't know, games in MLS don't start until March, and maybe that's what it is. Well, the training camps are starting now. We don't get games till March. That's obviously a long time. So there's 3 months here of no competitive soccer. And for Jurgen Klinsmann, it remains an issue that he has to more saga / response from Jurgen Klinsmann about whether or not he is anti-MLS. Having to reach out to Merritt Paulson after Merritt Paulson's comments about Jurgen Klinsmann's program of MLS hate, I guess, is certainly how he characterized it. Said that worthwhile for Jurgen Klinsmann to be a driving force between MLS getting better. If he has any control of that, not any control, but any influence at all, I don't have a problem with that. Gringo Mark, how about Omar Gonzalez against America? Ventura continues to struggle, but is getting minutes. Villafana and Bornstein with solid games. The American contingent in Mexico is doing pretty well right now. I don't know how Luis Gil is doing, but I know that Omar Gonzalez has hit the ground running for Pachuca and is playing very well for them. And I think that we will continue to see a movement of American players to Mexico when the conditions are right for said moves. I mean, it has to be. It has to. Omar Gonzalez makes sense, and because of his Mexican heritage. Obviously, you have Luis Gil with the same sort of connections. Jonathan Bornstein. But will we see more players like DeMarcus Beasley? That's a question. Let's go to Al, who's not there obviously anymore, in Missouri. Hey, Al.
Hey, what's going on? I want to talk about Leicester City, the team that's kind of,
All right, Leicester. First of all, it's Leicester, Al. Just to clear
Leicester. I'm going to say Leicester. Sorry, Leicester City.
There you go.
I'm enjoying it. I've been, last 2 years I haven't been following EPL. I've been watching Bundesliga. But I'm enjoying what Leicester City's doing right now.
Yeah, right.
And I think
it's fun.
It'd be great if they won the EPL this year.
I think so. I mean, I think that
I don't know if they're going to.
I think that league needs a shakeup. I think that league needs a shakeup. And I think that in general, I understand that the quality of the soccer is the best in the world in Germany for that. But when we get Bayern Munich winning every year, when we get Barcelona, Real Madrid winning every year, when we get the same three teams winning the Premier League every year, I get bored. I'm bored with that. I want to see something different.
I get bored too. But seeing Leicester City doing it, this is what European soccer needs is parity. You need a little bit of parity and everything. I'd like to see a small club team like Leicester City go ahead and win the EPL, and as you said, Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid, I wouldn't say they're a super powerhouse club in La Liga, but at least every year they're in contention.
Yeah, they've turned themselves into a competitor with the two biggest clubs in the world. And again, I mentioned this last week. Let me just pull up these numbers here for you, Al, because so Deloitte does the Football Money League every year, which is basically just a ranking of the world's teams by their revenue. And in the newest rankings came out last week. Barcelona at the top of that list. Out of the top, their revenues outstrip everybody else in the world. Yes, 577. Hold on a second here. I had the copy up. 577 million euros. For Real Madrid in 2014-15. If you look at, I'm just trying to find the rankings here. My apologies. I think Atletico Madrid is in there. They are in there. Let me just back this out. I'm trying to read their weird document that they've got going on here. All right, here we go. So you've got Real Madrid at the top, Barcelona number 2, Manchester United, who took a dip but is expected to go back up. At number 3, Atletico is number 15. Okay, so I just said Real Madrid's revenue in 2014-15 was 577 million euros. Barcelona's was 560.8 million euros. Atletico Madrid in number 50 at the number 15 spot, where they were last year as well. Their revenue 187 million euros. So we're talking about We're talking about 30% of what Real Madrid and Barcelona are bringing in year to year, and yet here they are competing. And that's good. That's good. I mean, if we can reach a place where European teams can find other ways to create an advantage, or be more efficient with what resources they have and create some parity, I think that Europe. I think it gets a lot more interesting for people.
It does. It does. I remember 1 year ago, they brought in players like Diego Forlan a couple of years ago. I know he was getting old at that time, but he played pretty well, and plus also too, Atletico Madrid, he used to be always in contention in the UEFA Europa League too.
Yeah, there's that, absolutely. All right, sorry, Al got distracted by some tweets here. What else you got for me?
Oh, that's about it.
All right, man. Yeah, well, it's an interesting year in England with Leicester City hanging on at the top of the table. Yeah, there goes Alan in Missouri. 646-832-3909. All right, so you've got some news out of New England today that I think is interesting. The New England Revolution have signed Sambinha, a defender, on loan from Sporting in Portugal. This is going to obviously boost their back line. Now, Edward on Twitter, everyone is saying Sambinha would move Farrell to right back, but do you think he also might make an outstanding center defensive mid? I like Andrew Farrell in the back line. I don't want Andrew Farrell having to play yet another position. I mean, he was back and forth, and he looked versatile kid. I'm glad to see him having success with the Revolution in two spots, because that's not easy. Being asked at that age to play right back, center back, right back, center back. You may have even thrown in some left back in there. I don't even know. I think mostly right back and center back. What the other news on Andrew Farrell that's interesting is I just favorited a story on Twitter. Let me see where I can find my favorites so I can give you a sense. Okay, it's at New England Soccer Today, NE Soccer Today, from my friend Brian O'Connell. Headline: Farrell conflicted on Peru interest. Andrew Farrell's got interest. He's got citizenship. He is eligible for the Peruvian national team. If that's a surprise to you, go back and read his story. It's a pretty fascinating one. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but he lived in Peru with his family for 11 years as a kid, and apparently would be eligible for citizenship, and Peru has been expressing some interest. Andrew Farrell has not yet gotten a full look or made his way into the national team rotation for the United States of America. And while I understand that the United States is not super deep, I think that maybe he might see himself getting more time and having... I mean, you play for Peru, you could play in a Copa America. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to go to a World Cup anytime soon. It doesn't. There are certainly some limitations to playing for a country like Peru, which is second tier at best in one of the toughest regions in the world. But there might be something there for him as well. I have not read the story, but let me see what I've got here. He said he doesn't quite know which country he'd pledge allegiance to if all things were equal. That's a good question. I haven't even thought about that. It's a huge goal of mine to play at the international level. And so just hearing these rumblings about Peruvian interest is pretty exciting. So that in general, it's just huge for me. I'll use it as motivation to keep pushing myself to be a better player for the Revs. All right. So I wonder how American fans will feel about this, potentially losing out on a player like Andrew Farrell, who I think has some potential to be a pretty solid U.S. men's national team player. I don't know that we're looking at a star at the national team level, but I think that it certainly is a guy who Jurgen Klinsmann probably should give some more run to. Fast, physical, a good head on his shoulders. I'm not sure he's the most technical player around. Maybe that's what Klinsmann wants and doesn't see out of a guy like Andrew Farrell, which is ultimately going to prevent him from making his way into the U.S. men's national team, which may in the end push him to Peru. I'm not sure. What's Peru's ranking right now? I mean, not that it has anything to do with Andrew Farrell's decision necessarily. I'm just kind of curious. Trevor, give me a guess. Where do you think Peru is? I just want to see how close you can get. The Peruvian national team, which is called La Blanquiroja, because they are the white and red. Let's see. Trevor, no guess? All right, fine. They are currently ranked. Okay, he says 36. Not too bad. They're currently ranked number 47 in the world. That is up 10 spots, as a matter of fact. Their highest ranking ever, 19th in July of 2013. So not that long since they were ranked in the top 20. Now, we know FIFA rankings, et cetera, but they're ranked 47 in the world. So that's it's a middling country with the potential to get better, clearly. And they have some of the best kits in the world with the red stripe, with the red sash. I mean, I'd go if Andrew Farrell became a Peruvian international, I'd go buy a Peruvian national team kit with Farrell on the back. I think I would do that. Just to have a Peruvian kit because I like them and because it's Andrew Farrell, who I like as a player, plays in MLS. Yeah. But it'd be interesting, though, to see another American eligible, another player who grew up in the United States and played soccer here turn out for a South American country, because I'm thinking of from the Revolution, because I'm thinking of Diego Fagundes, obviously. Now, Diego Fagundes' situation made more complicated by the fact that he's not a citizen, or wasn't a citizen at the time that he started taking Uruguay up on their offer of playing for the U20s. I don't know where Diego Fagundes is right now in terms of the Uruguayan hierarchy and whether or not we're ever going to see him turn out for the full national team of Uruguay. That would be pretty fascinating, pretty amazing. Let's see. Robert on Twitter. It's a good place to close out. It's been one of those shows. You wear glasses sometimes. Have you ever been in a situation where you lost your glasses like Klopp lost his? Klopp lost his in a dog pile or in a wild celebration over the winner against Norwich. I do not believe I've ever lost my glasses in a wild celebration. And that might say something about my life, because maybe I don't have certain things to wildly celebrate. Like I'm not. Think about the liberating nature of being a coach of a professional sport at that level, or any level really, or a coach. It doesn't even have to be professional. I mean, you could be a high school coach. What other job gives you the freedom to run around like a crazy person and celebrate like Jurgen Klopp did? A grown man on the field at Carrow Road going absolutely bonkers with his players. No other, I can't think of another job that lets you do that, right? Just coaching sports. I should be coaching, not talking about it. I can't wildly celebrate here. I don't have the room anyway. I knock stuff over. All right. That's going to do it for a Monday edition of Soccer Morning here on WorldSoccerTalk.com. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks to everybody who called in. And, as I said, if you're in the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast areas that have gotten slammed by snow, be safe out there. Make sure you're making good decisions. If you're shoveling, take a break every now and then. We don't want anybody keeling over. Soccer Morning, WorldSoccerTalk.com. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.